Faithfulness. What does it mean to be faithful? The Holman's Bible Dictionary says that faithful means steadfast, committed, reliable and trustworthy. The word faithful comes from the same Hebrew root as the word amen, which Christians often say to show that they believe in God. Many people in the world today may think of faithfulness in terms of human relationships, like being faithful to our spouse while we are married. This kind of faithfulness is important for a happy marriage, but this fruit of the Spirit of faithfulness is really about how faithful we are to Christ. It is one of the most important parts of a Christian's character and is needed for a godly life. As Christians, we know and see how faithful God is to us, how true His word is, and how His promises won't fail. We may not feel God's faithfulness to us at times, but we must choose to trust and believe that God is faithful. The Bible is full of God's promises and stories about how He has been true to us. We should keep learning to be faithful to God because He is faithful to us. It needs loyalty and trust. Because we keep our promises, we can trust that God will keep His. Well done, faithful and good servant. You've been faithful over a small amount, so I'll put you in charge of a big amount. Matthew 25-21 says, Enter into the joy of your master. Even though being faithful is important in every part of our lives, I can think of 3 areas where it is especially important: in relationships, at work, and with money. Hebrews 13-4 says, Everyone should respect marriage. Most of the time, when we think of being faithful in a relationship, the first thing that comes to mind is sexually. That's a very important key, but I think we don't give emotional faithfulness enough credit. Especially in today's society, it seems like both men and women are more likely to talk to friends or co-workers outside of their marriages. Adultery is not just about being sexual. In Proverbs 6:32 it says, A man who has an affair with a woman is not wise. He destroys his own life. Men and women should both do their best to keep their marriage vows holy. In Proverbs 31:11-12 it says that a good woman gives her husband peace of mind so that he doesn't need to be spoiled. Find a job you love and you'll never work a day in your life, says an old saying. Maybe you don't have a job that you love, so you might think that where you work doesn't matter. It's true. Colossians 3:23 says, And whatever you do it with all your heart, as to the Lord and not to people. This is true whether you need a job to pay the bills or you love your job. We should all work for God's glory, even if we don't love what we do for a living. But what about my boss, you might ask? Well, Romans 13:1 says, For there is no power except from God. The powers that are set in place by God. No one has power without God's plan being a part of it, whether it's in the government or in the workplace. Don't worry about it and do your best. Money is always a sensitive subject. Everyone has their own ideas about how to take care of their money. But what does it say in the Bible? There's a lot about money in the Bible. Psalm 37-21 says, The wicked borrow but don't pay back, but the righteous is kind and gives. As Christians, we're supposed to be good stewards of everything God has given us, which includes paying off debts and giving to others. In the book of Genesis 14:19-20, it says that Abraham gave the Lord 1/10 of everything he had. In Proverbs 3:9-10, it says, Honor the Lord with your wealth and the first fruits of all your produce. Then your barns will be full of food and your wine vats will be overflowing. My grandmother always told me that when she was young and just getting married, she and my grandfather never bought something they couldn't pay for. All at once. It's a good reminder that you shouldn't always use your credit card to get what you want. There are benefits to buying things outright and not having to pay anything back. We should be honest with our money. Faithfulness is a good trait that can be built up through prayer and good habits. In Proverbs 28-20 it says, A good man will have a lot of good things happen to him. We often think that faithfulness and steadfastness are qualities that we are either born with or not. Many times this is simply not true. There are many things we can do to develop the spirit of faithfulness in our lives, even if we didn't have it as children or never learned it in our youth. God is faithful. It's one of his greatest attributes. In order to be faithful, we need to know what it means and see what it looks like in action. Study God's characters, his thoughts, his feelings, his ways, so that you'll get a better idea of what faithfulness is all about. You're much more likely to be faithful if you're a person who is generally faithful in your heart and actions. That doesn't mean that God doesn't work in and through people who are not godly, but that faithfulness can come only after we develop a sound character based on solid principles. Work on your own personal integrity, so that when times get tough or even when they don't, you remain loyal and true to yourself. Whenever I make a list, it's in pencil. When I cross something off, I rewrite it in pen. Crossing things off gives me an incredible sense of satisfaction and accomplishment. It's important to build positive habits around those things you need to change. Don't wait until Monday morning to start working on that bad habit, but work on it every day. This will make it much easier for you to break free from the negative pattern and replace it with something else more productive and powerful. Give it a shot sometime. Keep track of your progress. This can be as simple as using a calendar or journal. If you keep track of your progress, it becomes easier to see where you have made progress and where you have struggled. Sometimes when we lose sight of our goals, we will also lose sight of how far we've come. Progress can fade into nothing if not checked up on regularly. Being faithful is being committed to someone or something, believing in them and supporting them. The word faithful comes from the Latin word fidelis, which means true or loyal. Faithful people are those who are loyal and devoted to their beliefs, country, partner, or religion. A faithful person is someone who is loyal to a partner or spouse. They are someone who can be trusted and relied on. The Bible has a lot to say about the importance of faithfulness in marriage. It says that it's important for both partners to be faithful and not have any sexual relationships with other people.